Thabang, welcome to another episode of Azanina In Therapy. I'm your host, Thabang Tlaka. Today, I've had a lovely conversation with a medical doctor, writer, published author, global business mentor, health and wellness coach. My guest and your guest today, Dr. Nthabiseng Tsebe. Hello, how are you?
I'm good, and how are you?
I'm good, especially now that you are here.
Yeah.
And then we finally get to unpack some interesting themes, some interesting topics.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, okay, you're a doctor, you're an author, you reflect a lot, and maybe let's start there before we unpack your your ideas.
Yes.
Okay. So you're a medical doctor.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, and you are the second Dr. Tsebe that is coming on the show.
Is it?
Yeah, but the other one is, I think she's with the Olympics team.
Oh, okay.
Now, so your journey as a doctor, you've got an interesting story because you went to Cuba.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that? How did you get to go to Cuba, and what was that like?
Okay, so firstly,
Yeah.
I was studying in one of the universities here in South Africa.
Yeah.
I was in Medunsa.
Uh-huh.
So I'm someone who likes exploring.
Yeah.
And then someone told me about Cuba, and I was like, why not? Because it's international. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll get to explore.
Let me travel and see the world. Yeah.
And then get to know myself. Maybe I don't know what that's going to have for me.
Yeah.
And then I went to Cuba. When I got there, it was a lot of a culture shock.
Yeah.
People do things differently. To start with, Cubans are not Christians.
Yeah.
They don't believe in God.
Yeah.
For someone who's so anchored and rooted.
And this is like your roots, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult to get to a country. It's dominated by people that don't believe in that. So it was so difficult to adapt. And the food.
Interesting food.
Interesting, but then I can't say they are nice.
Yeah, but what was not nice about it? What kind of food? I mean, is it different kinds of food is it different from what we have, or the way it's prepared that's different?
It's the way it's prepared that's different.
So
because they have rice, they have chicken, they have all these things that we have here, but how they prepare them.
Is it a lot of frying, a lot of boiling, or a lot of mixing?
A lot of mixing,
Yeah.
a lot of frying, using too much oil.
Okay.
Yeah. But then you get used to it.
Yeah,
and
but
it was a good experience.
And what stood out, what you said it was a culture shock. So when you get to Cuba, I want you to take us back, right? So are you traveling, do you travel by yourself, or are you guys a group of students going to Cuba?
We were a group of students going to Cuba.
How many in the group?
Our group, I left with roughly 15, 20 people.
Okay.
Yes. So we traveled together and we got there. The first thing we got there, it's summer throughout. It was very hot.
Yeah.
It's humid. You struggle to breathe.
Yeah.
It's not like here in South Africa.
It's very different.
It's very different.
Do you get a briefing before you go that, okay guys, when you get there, do you get the weather, the food, the culture, do you get some sort of orientation, or you get on a plane and you get there and then you discover?
We get a bit enlightening.
Okay.
Yeah, but then not thoroughly, because I think maybe it's because they can't just tell you everything.
Yeah.
But then they will tell you about the type of food that they eat, the type of life that they live, so that when you go there, you know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
And you can assess if you'll be able to survive there or not.
Yeah, it's not too much of a Now you arrive in Cuba, and when you get there, what's like the first thing that you notice, like, hey, this is different, or what struck you, when you got there?
The first thing that I noticed when I got there is how people dress.
How they dress?
Yes.
How do they dress?
Because in South Africa, an elderly is expected to dress like, those long skirts, cover yourself in a respectful
Jajana,
Yes, all those things.
Yeah.
But then you get that side, you see a 60-year-old with a mini skirt, they have nails, they have makeup, and it's normal for them. They don't even look at them somehow. It's normal.
Yeah.
It was just us being shocked, like, oh, this in South Africa.
So I mean, the attire, the clothes, the way the people are presented themselves, right? And what I also learned is that sometimes when the people go to Cuba, you get split. Was it like that for you? People go to different parts of Cuba. So maybe just to explain a little bit of where do people go? So you land there, then what happens?
Okay, so when we get there, the first thing that we do, we be in the same place. They do what is called quarantine, which is a screening of all illnesses that you might get, such as malaria, the yellow fever, and then that is going to be for a month.
Okay.
And then we do the language. We learn Spanish for the first 3 months, and then we start with the medical school, which is a pre-medical school, which is the first year. And then after that first year, then we're going to separate now. Other people go to certain provinces. So they have like 12 provinces.
Okay.
But then the country is small for 12 provinces.
Okay.
But yeah, they have like 12 provinces, so we'll be distributed amongst those provinces. And then that's where we're going to continue with our second year, third year, and then again, if you are left in the city, I was one of the people that were left in the city, which is Havana.
Yeah.
So if you're left in the city, you're going to do that second year and third year in a certain school, and then after that you move to another school to complete your other 3 years.
And as you are studying, you said the first year you're learning Spanish.
Yes.
And then throughout, are you learning medicine in Spanish?
Yes.
Even the medical terms and the...
Yes.
So how's your Spanish?
It's fluent.
So do you practice your Spanish,
When we get there, they give us like basics of how you learn a language in South Africa. Just like how we were taught English from grade R and all that, they do the basics like that.
Yeah.
You'll eventually feel like you're a kid again.
No, give us some basics. What were some of the few things that they taught you in Spanish? Is it greeting?
Okay, the greeting, it depends on if it's formal or if it's an informal greeting.
Okay, let's start with that. Usually people learn the informal stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And somehow you learn those first.
Yeah.
Those are the things that stick in your head.
Yeah.
So it's simple. If you are greeting someone like informal, it's just hola.
Hola.
Yes.
Okay.
And the how are you part is ¿cómo estás?
¿Cómo estás?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And that person will respond bien y tú.
Uh-huh.
And then you'll also respond back estoy bien, meaning that I'm also fine.
Estoy bien.
Estoy bien.
Estoy bien.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm also fine.
Nice, so interesting. And then so you are learning this, then are you introduced to medical terms?
Yes, we are.
In Spanish?
Yes.
And the writing?
We do everything in Spanish.
Really?
Presentations, exams, the textbooks are written in Spanish. So everything is just in Spanish.
Wow.
Yeah.
That'll be so interesting to sit in a presentation watching you guys.
Yeah.
Just an aside, have you met people who say maybe went to study medicine in either China or Russia?
Yes, I've met them. Some of them I'm even working with them now.
And then is your experience different? Is it the same sort of introduction? Do they also have to learn Chinese, learn medicine in Chinese? In Russia, is it the same or it's different in the way it's done in Cuba?
It's different because in Cuba we do everything in Spanish.
Okay.
So the country like it's Spanish speaking. For you to like get by every day it's Spanish. They also don't know English.
I see.
But those that studied in China and in Russia, they do their medical school in English.
Okay.
So learning the Chinese and other languages is just an additional for them.
Aha, so it's not like a requirement.
No.
Now, so you are studying there, but what was it like just generally being there? What are some of the highlights, the things that stood out for you being in Cuba? You know, what worked and what didn't work so much for you, you know?
I can say most of the things they've worked for me. I can say that.
Yeah.
Because while I was that side, I realized that I had a lot of time to do many things. I was able to read. Yeah. Not only school books, read novels. I was able to exercise. I was able to keep up with eating healthy and everything. I had a lot of time, and I also learned how to manage my time efficiently. It was so great to be there. I can say that, and it's also peaceful. But then it comes with challenges, such as missing home. Okay. You will miss your family a lot because during this process, you are only allowed to come home twice. So you will come at the end of your second year and at the end of your fourth year. That's when you are allowed to come home. And all those vacations, you'll have to spend them with the Cubans, unfortunately.
Is it true that when you do travel and you study, you stay so long away from home, you become a bit more patriotic? Like, because I've heard people say, you know, when I left and I studied in such and such a place, like, you know, I started wanting the South African flag, like this thing that I was South African was a big thing. Did it happen for you or not really?
It did.
Yeah.
You actually start to love your country because it's more like you are placed at a distance and you are observing everything that's happening in South Africa. While I was here within the country, I didn't think that we have such a beautiful country.
Yeah, they say you never, well, how does the song go with Janet Jackson? You never know what you got until it's gone.
That's true.
And what did you see about South Africa? Whilst you were in Cuba, what did you say, but South Africa, that's so nice about it?
I realized that we are so privileged.
In what?
And we have freedom. Because in Cuba, you are reminded that you are a foreigner.
Really?
Yeah.
How is that done? How does it come up? Yeah.
So to us in South Africa, you cannot just call someone by their country. You cannot just openly call them foreigner. But in Cuba, it's normal. They call you extranjero, which means foreigner. And to them, they don't see it as an insult. And then you realize that in South Africa, we're actually free.
I see.
And we actually respect people.
So we've got liberties and freedoms sometimes we underestimate. And then do you get to practice? You see the patients there? Where do you get placed? Hospitals, clinics?
The first 2 years you are placed in the clinics, so you do your practicals through the clinics, and your other 3 years, that's when you are placed in the hospital. So all the entire 3 years you'll be doing all your rotations in the hospitals, and you are allowed to treat patients, practice, learn. Yeah, they are very friendly patients. They are very friendly people. They won't have a problem with you learning and doing everything.
And what did they find interesting about you guys? And maybe for you, what questions did the people have, or what did they find interesting about you?
The thing that they found interesting about South Africa, because we had many countries. Yes. But us South Africans, wherever we go, we dominate.
In what sense? The music, the dancing, the knowledge,
In all areas, I can say that. Because they will want to know the South African music. They will ask us, how is South Africa? Most of them, they even wanted to relocate and come to South Africa. Yeah. Because they were like, you guys, the music is nice. Your country has so many resources. And still, school-wise, we were also doing well.
Oh, I see. Also, in terms of performance and I don't know if I should ask it, but let me ask this one. I know I've become aware that some people go to Cuba, or when people travel. I worked in the military for a little bit, and the people used to get deployed, right, for 6 months. And what I observed was that people would have, say, 2 families. So they have a family in wherever they are placed, and then a family in South Africa. In Cuba, I don't know, I heard some things that people had families there. They've got wives and husbands and children, and was that something that you observed, or not really?
Yeah, I did observe. There are people that actually, they have kids in Cuba. When they get there, I don't know if maybe they wanted a sense of belonging. Maybe at home they were used to have a structure, a family and all that. So they'll just create a family with the Cubans. Some even have kids with them. Some, they even want to get married to them. Yeah, that happens. And it also happened even in Cuba.
Is that allowed? Are you, your contract whilst you are studying there, are there things like you are prohibited from starting families here, or?
Okay, as a lady, you cannot fall pregnant.
You get told that please don't get pregnant.
Yes. It's one of the rules in the contract. When you sign the contract, you are told that through the process of being in Cuba, you can't fall pregnant. If you fall pregnant, then they terminate the scholarship.
I see.
Yeah, so for guys don't have evidence to carry, so they have kids with Cubans. And yeah, that was okay. But then marriage-wise, it was not allowed for them to get married with them, but they would stay with them while we are at that site and also build some family with them here.
I'm big on raising your own kids. So where are the kids? Do they come back with the kids, or do they stay there, or they leave them there?
They leave them there because it's not allowed according to the Cuban law. Yeah, for them to live with the kid when they come this side. So they left the kids there.
Sure. Yeah, no, I just thought to ask this. That's a different one. Okay, so how long are you guys then there in Cuba?
We are there for 6 years. Okay. So the first year is wherein we are doing the pre-medicine and also those months of Spanish. And then the other 5 years it's the medical school. And after that, we come to one of the South African universities to integrate for 1 year, 6 months. And then after that 1 year, 6 months, that's where you can be employed in one of the hospitals in South Africa.
And this integration, what do you focus on? So when you come back to South Africa and you do the 1 year, 6 months, do you join the 6th year students, 5th year students? Where do you land when you come back?
Okay, with me, when I got here, we joined the 5th year students and they were doing their last rotation of the year.
Okay.
So we joined that last rotation of the year, and then the following year we continued with their final years. And then we finished early because they were doing their last rotation of the year, and we did that rotation, which made us to be a bit ahead.
Okay.
So instead of finishing in December, we finished in September.
I see.
Yeah.
And what is it like? Because now you're learning in Cuban, and then you come back. What's the transition like?
Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot. I remember in my first exam, the rotation that we joined, I forgot everything in English. It was all Spanish in my head. And
And how did you navigate?
So the doctor was kind enough to be like, because they understand. She was kind enough to be like, take your time, you know this. And then, I took my time and everything came back. Because it's a lot. You learn everything in Spanish for 6 years. And then you come back. That 1 year, 6 months is not a lot for you to like translate everything into English. So Spanish will always be there. And here and there it will come, but you try to come back to English so that you can also fit in the group and be on the same level with everyone that's studying here in South Africa.
And what's so just thinking about Cuba, what's special about the medical program? Because you said there are different people who go there, and for you, when you reflect on it, what stands out about it?
Okay, for me what stood out is that Cuba practices primary health care.
Okay.
So in South Africa, mostly it's secondary and tertiary. So already we have diseases in the country, so we are trying to cure those diseases. So we do mostly of the curative medicine. But in Cuba, they prevent the diseases. So their primary health care is very anchored, and they practice that. So they don't have many of illnesses. For example, HIV, I've never come across anyone in Cuba who's HIV positive. They know how to manage that through prevention before it can spread. Yes.
Oh wow, that's interesting. So you come back to South Africa, you do the 1 year, 6 months, and you finish the rotations, then you get placed in other hospitals.
Yes.
And I know when people meet in wards and in hospitals, right? There's this thing about, where did you study? Did you study in Cape Town, in Joburg, in Pretoria, in Cuba? How did you find that? Those relationships about the different students that studied in different places. What is that like for you?
It was a bit of a challenge, but then I'm proudly Cuban made.
Yeah.
I always say that I studied in Cuba. Although some people in the country, they don't want to hear that part. If you say I studied in Cuba, they become hard on you. They want you to prove yourself that you are as competent as doctors that studied in South Africa. Let me just say, if you studied outside the country, because even people that studied in Russia, in China, they face the same thing.
Because there's an assumption there that the quality is different.
Yes, because some of the diseases that we have in the country, in those countries they don't have them. So we don't really get to see them. We learn about them, but mostly the theoretical part of them, but you don't get to put that in practice. Just like HIV, TB, they don't have those in their country. You will learn about them, but it's not the same as here. You always meet people that come with TB, you know how to manage it because you've seen someone presenting with the symptoms. So it makes it a bit of a difference. But if you know and you stand your ground and you show them that, yes, I can do this, they become very proud that you even studied in Cuba.
Do you wanna, have you been back? Have you traveled back?
Not yet.
Do you think about it?
Yes, I do. I miss the peace.
Okay.
I miss walking in the streets without having a fear that my phone might be snatched, something might happen to me, because the level of crime is close to zero.
How come?
I don't know how they do it, but they are so free in such a point that they won't just assault you or take your things or do something to you. No, they won't do that. Even at night, people that like maybe going out at night, it's even safe for you to do that. Unlike here in the country. Now I even can't jog. I can't jog around because I feel like, what if I'm drinking and a car just stops in front of me and snatch me? While that side I used to do that freely, so without having a fear that something might happen to me. So
Yeah, then you started by saying that there's a faith element that you're a Christian and it's an important part of your identity.
Yes.
So what did you do now? Because you said they don't believe as much, or Christianity is not a big thing in Cuba. So how did you navigate that part of your life?
Okay, so they respect people's religion. Okay. So if you come with your religion, you have to respect them as well. You just tell them your religion, and then they will give you a space where you can pray and do your things, but then just don't interfere with the Cubans or try to recruit them into your religion.
Oh, just don't minister.
No, don't. They don't want that.
Okay, you'll be crossing lines there.
As long as you do your own thing, they respect you.
Okay.
So when I got there, I found people that are also Christians like me, and we formed what we call a structure where we would meet 3 times in a week and we pray, we share the word, and that also helped me to survive and also to stand on my Christianity. It helped a lot.
Yeah, especially that you are far away from home, because people get up to interesting things once the plane leaves the border. You know. Oh, you've seen that?
Yes.
Yeah, you know, when people travel, you see all sorts of things. Wonderful. Now you're back. You're enjoying doing medicine.
Yes.
And then you decided to write a book.
Yes.
Right. And so unlocking your full potential through self-discovery. Tell me a bit more about that. You know, how come the book? What inspired it? What were you reflecting on?
Okay, so when I started writing this book, I was actually still in Cuba. It was that time of lockdown, so we had like a lot of free time, and I just realized, I was just thinking like in my mind, and I'm like, in order for someone to reach their full potential, to be their true self, what can they do? And I realized that the potential and everything lies through discovering yourself. Once when you've discovered yourself, you are able to open other channels of life. Once when you know yourself, when you know who you are able to know which way to go and what are the things that you value and stand up to. So I was like, I want to write something that's going to help people to be able to channel all of the energy that they have towards themselves. Because I've noticed that in life, we always want to impress other people. You always want to be a good member of the society. You want to be good in church. You want to be a good daughter, a good son to your parents. But at the same time, you forget about yourself. How about yourself? What is it that you stand up to, and who are you really? And once when you discover that part, you are able to navigate through life. Yeah.
I mean, for me, that's an important thing, reaching your full potential, right? And part of that is discussing the idea of who you are, and you discuss that. Maybe a little bit more about that. What's your view on how people see themselves? Do people really know themselves? Do they know they can reach the full potential?
Some people don't know, hence the book. Yeah, some people don't know. But those that know, they know that once when you know who you are, then you know where you are going. And once when you know where you are going, you will know when you have arrived. So you get to have a sense of direction when you know who you are. And once when you know who you are, you will get to know who you are not. Because you cannot know who you are not while you don't know who you are. How are you going to know that I love this particular thing while you don't know what you don't like? Or you say, I don't like this particular thing, but you don't know what you like. You must first know what you like first, and then you'll be able to know, okay, this is me, I prefer this kind of life because I know myself, and this is me, I prefer this kind of life, and this and that I don't prefer. Then you are able to know who you are.
And so how do people, you know, in practical ways, you know, find out who they are? If somebody says, yeah, you know, I want to find out who I am, you know, what do you say?
Okay, it's a very broad
It's
a very
but maybe a suggestion or two regarding how do I figure out who I am.
Okay, you can figure out who you are by starting to look at your life, how you were raised, and where you are now at the moment. Are you happy with where you are now at the moment? Or are you just living your life because someone told you that, okay, you are Nthabiseng, this is the type of life that you should live and this is how you should go. So the moment you start to say, I know who I am, it's because you have navigated the way of life and you know your values and you know that this is not influenced by another person. Sometimes, let's take Christianity. Some people are Christians because they were born in church, because their parents, every Sunday they would say, no, you're going to church. You make sure that you're at church. If you don't go to church, then it's a problem. And as they grow up, they depart from that journey that they were taught. That's when they realize that actually this is not for me. This was just because my parents were telling me that I need to go to church. And some people at the same time, along the same way of, let's say, Christianity, you tell them to go to church, along the way of life, they start to realize that I am going to church for myself now. I'm doing this for myself. Because you understand yourself now, you understand the things that you want to stand on, and you understand the values that you are living for yourself, not what the society has taught you. Then once when you reach that point of saying, I know who I am, then you'll know what is best for you and what you want in life.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's helpful because the question of identity is a very important. When I hear you, I hear, two things. I think the one is like listening, there's a voice, there's a knowing about who you are. So as you talk, you are kind of pointing towards taking the time to actually realize the things that you are genuinely interested in, interested in, and then also having a voice, things you like, being able to own that. So now you are doing this because you want to do it, not because someone else wants to do it, especially now in this culture where we have so many options, right? You have so many options, so many models, and I think it's important not to just have that voice, but to own it. It sounds like you're pointing towards something like that. Maybe we can link it to the other idea that you discuss, right? You discuss having a burning desire, because I'm thinking once you know who you are, part of knowing who you are has to do with, there are things inside of you, you suspect there's something strong inside, and this thing is burning inside of you. And maybe to say a little bit more about that.
Okay. So the burning desire, this chapter was actually inspired by looking at people, and you realize that this person has so much potential in them, but they have this fear of exploring that desire. And the burning desire is something that even if you try to run away from that, it will catch up with you. It will always find a way to come and show you that I'm here, please pay attention, just like the writing part for me. When I was writing this book, I never thought that I would publish a book. I've been a writer at a young age, doing poetry and all that, but a book, it seems like it's a lot for me, because I was just able to write maybe 1 or 2 pages of something that's motivating, and then I would end there. But that desire of like, you need to write something, you need to tell people about this, that desire was burning. So each and every person has that desire, something that is always stuck in your mind each and every day, something that is telling you, please explore that desire, and also go on with that desire, and don't let anyone to stop you, because sometimes you have that burning desire. There are negativities in the world. Some people will tell you that, do you think you can really do that? Some people will tell you that, so and so has never done this. Do you think you can succeed in that? So you need to be prepared for all the negativities. And if your desire is strong enough and it's really burning, none of those things will actually impact on what you want to achieve.
If you don't mind, what's yours,
Okay, my desire is to see people connecting with themselves. Growing up, I used to think that when you say I love myself, it's like you are a self-centered person. You are someone who's maybe selfish. But then as I was exploring myself, I was like, it's okay to love yourself. So we need to have a connection with ourselves, because we are the only people that we are going to spend the entire life with. We need to create a safe space with ourselves. And also we need to be aware of our emotions, be aware of our mental well-being and our physical well-being. So I just want to send a strong message out there that people should connect with themselves. People should love themselves without feeling bad about it. And people should create a safe space in themselves. Because you can confide in people, but sometimes you'll always be with your thoughts. What thoughts are you planting in your mind? You need to know that you have to plant positive thoughts because your mind is where you are going to be in most of the time. So I want to send a strong message out there so that people can have a true connection with themselves.
Wonderful. I mean, that's interesting for me because in there there's the I suppose assumption of observation that people are disconnected with themselves, right? We're living very disconnected lives, and because we are disconnected with ourselves, we can't really do what we need to do.
Yes.
So I think I can relate. I can relate, with trying to help people connect with themselves. So I mean, I imagine you can. I imagine you can relate to that.
Yes.
This idea that you have this thing you must do. For me is words and writing and ideas and people and connection.
Yes.
Mommy, is it like that for you?
It is like that because there's a say that a pen is mightier than a sword.
Yeah.
So people don't take words seriously, but then I always say, if God was able to use the word, because Genesis says, in the beginning it was the word was with God, and the word was God. So that shows us that words are powerful. So whenever I write something, I know that it's not like maybe talking to people, they might forget the message when you talk to them, but that burning desire of like wanting to communicate with people through words and all that, it's a way of them going back to those words and reflecting and rereading them and making sure that they are anchored in them. So I believe that words can change someone's life.
Yeah, I mean, the other idea you discuss, right, is the whole mind, body, and soul relationship.
Yes.
And why take time to address that in your book?
Okay, the mind, body, and soul.
Yeah.
There's a connection in there. One cannot exist without the other. So we need to make sure that when you are exercising that, you are exercising the whole concept. Because sometimes you look at yourself, you are more focused on the outer part, how you look, how like maybe you go to the gym and your physique start to change, you are focused more on that and you are happy with that. But then you are forgetting your mind and your soul as well. Because your mind and your soul must also be channeled in the same direction that you are going. As much as you want to take care of your physical well-being, the mind is also the concept that you want to take care of. Because if you don't take care of your mind, the problem is that with the body, you are able to see, let's say now I have a wound here, I'm able to see that I have a wound here. If I need help, I'm going to seek help and show them that I have a wound here. So I want us to normalize the fact that if you are having an issue with your mind, you are also freely or you are able to go and seek help. So by taking care of your mind, it will show you whenever you're not showing up as your 100% self, your energy levels are low, you're no longer like reproductive, then you are able to seek help. As much as you will go to the doctor when you have a headache, you can still go to the doctor when you are feeling like this is not the Nthabiseng that I know. So yes, that is the connection.
I see. I was just thinking now, right? Because someone would say, hey, but so if I look good, if I dress good, if I've got some money, if I present well, why worry about things that people can't see, like my mind and my soul, It's not about other people at the end of the day. Yeah. It's about how are you feeling as a person. How are you? I feel good. I feel good when people say I look good. The
problem with validation is that validation will always run out.
Yeah.
So we must not always seek validation from the outer world. We must also validate ourselves. Because sometimes I'll dress good and see that, okay, I look good. But then I go out there, no one tells me that I look good. Then that's going to affect me. I'm going to feel bad that it means I didn't look good. But if you know and you have anchored that in your mind that I can validate myself and I'm okay with that. What another person comes with from the outside is just an additional on that. So that's why it's important to take care of your mind and your soul as well.
Yeah, and it goes back to that idea about you connecting with yourself, right? And I think you have this, we're living from the inside out,
yes.
right? You're having this internal locus of control versus this external.
Yes.
Because it's better to kind of be centered and then you influence the world as opposed to being influenced, which relates to another idea that you discuss about energy, right? You're saying a person must direct their energy towards something that's positive, or a person must be mindful with regards to what they do with their energy. Maybe unpack that a little bit more.
So as a person, you need to know what is adding into your energy and what is taking out from your energy. Because some things, they are there, but then they will just deplete your energy levels.
Yeah.
So you need to know what is actually adding onto that energy. And not everything that is happening around the world actually requires your energy. Some things you just have to let them go. It's a negative thing that is not gonna benefit you anyhow. So when you choose where to channel your energy, you choose where to channel the energy where you know that you will see growth, and that will also make you grow as a person and you'll become a better person. And that will help you a lot, because if you know where to channel your energy, you know how to use your time. You won't have to waste your time with unnecessary things. If you know that you are struggling with procrastinating, you're always on TikTok, Instagram and all that, and those things are not actually benefiting you anyhow, then you just have to cut them out, because your energy is going to be depleted. And at the end of the day, we don't want someone to function on 0 levels energy. So channeling your energy to important things, and this also goes back to the negative things that maybe people might be saying about you. Sometimes critiques are good. You can take positive critiques to improve yourself, but sometimes those critiques can actually be negative and they derail you. So you don't have to pay more of your energy and your attention and be like, people think I'm this kind of person, it means I'm that kind of person. So when you channel your energy, you just erase that negativity part and you focus on the positive and focus on things that are going to add on your energy levels.
Good point for millennials and 2000 Gen Zs, and because there's this idea of even though I've got time to do certain things, if somebody's messing with me, I want to match them. They talk about it, I'll take the time out of my schedule to match your energy, even if it's negative. And what you're talking about, you're making this relationship between time and energy, that time is very precious, and your efforts, your attention, your focus needs to go in a productive direction. And I mean, somebody might say, well, I mean, I hear that. I hear the, you need to understand yourself. You need to work on your mind, body, and soul. You need to manage your time. You need to, focus. But you don't know about my background, right? You don't know about my background, and my background is such and such. Therefore, I'll never become this person that I want to be.
So people need to learn that your background, it doesn't define who you are. So when you put that in your mind, that where I come from can either serve as a stepping ladder towards where I want to go, or it can derail you from becoming who you really want to be. Because we are raised in a different way. Some people feel like they didn't have opportunities, or they were not privileged enough to go to certain schools, do certain things.
What if it's not a feeling, it's a knowing? You didn't go to... You didn't go to that nice school where you speak English in a particular way and were exposed. You went to excursions and things of that nature. You never had concerts, and and you just had to study. You went, you had to study Monday to Friday to Saturday to Sunday, where you didn't have sports, and now you're competing. You are in the ward with all these other students who had all that. If somebody said, it's not a feeling, I know.
So you can unlearn what you were taught. Along the way of life, you can actually unlearn that. Because now we are here at the moment. What are you doing with where you are at the moment? Let's just say, from your past traumas, you just give them a chance to heal. I always say this, that you need to dance with your demons. You need to invite them to the dancing floor and show them that, hey, I'm silencing you. You're no longer going to catch up with me. Now I'm starting a new life. I want to proceed in life. So you need to unlearn what you were taught and also get to know that, okay, it's fine. I was not privileged enough to get to these certain types of schools or to do this and that. But where I am at the moment, what am I doing with my life now? Because I always say, if you are given an opportunity to live, why don't you just live your best life? Why don't you just be the best in that?
Yeah. Which is linked to another idea. You say, some people say, but I'm too old, right? I'm too old to have a dream. I'm too old to pursue this. I'm too old. And you say something about that.
Oh, I can say, growing up now, I'm realizing that that is becoming my favorite chapter in the book.
Ah, how come?
Because many people are just having good ideas and they're forgetting that we are living in a different timeline and with different timelines. What you have achieved at a certain age, you may find that it's not something that I'm supposed to do at a certain age. So we don't have a certain timeline. I know that the society has instilled this idea to us that, okay, you are
25, marriage. 30, kids.
Yes.
40,
exactly.
retirement.
Yes. So you see that sequence. Some people are still living with that. They want to follow that sequence. But then we need to remember that we are different individuals. That's what makes the world to be interesting. When you come with your differences, I come with mine, and other people come with theirs. When we combine together, we make differences. So some things you might have wanted them to happen at a certain age, but they don't happen at that time. And then you realize that, oh, okay, I'm too old, I can't do this and that. I'm only saying, as long as it's legal to do that, do it. As long as it's legal, it doesn't matter the age that you are in. Even if you are 40 and you're starting to dream about something that you think you should have done in your 20s, follow that dream and do it. Don't let age to be your limiting factor, and don't let people to measure the level of your success looking at your age, how old you are. Because as the society, I think we've normalized that a lot. Oh, before the age of 30, I should have achieved this and that. It's okay to do that. It's good to do that. But if you can't reach there at that certain time, it doesn't mean that then your life is over. Let's say God has blessed you with like 80 years of living. And then you pause living when you are above 35. What are you going to do with the remaining years that God has given you?
And then the ones who say, I mean, there are people who studied, especially in your field, right? I don't know if you've heard the comments. They say, hey, if you see these doctors, you must run away when it comes to relationships. You must run away, right? And you said if it's not illegal, you can do it. But some people have goals like this. They're like, you know, when I was in school, nobody looked at me. Now that I'm a doctor now, I've got a nice BMW. I'm gonna go for the people. That is my goal. That is my dream. What do you think about that?
Okay, what I picked up, it's always, I don't want to like impose other people, but I pick this mostly from men. Yes, those are the people that do that. But for me, I would feel like if you didn't want me at my lowest, what makes you to want me now? Does it mean that you want me for the person that I am now that you couldn't see at that moment? So that should make me wonder if you really want me for being myself or you want me for who I am now.
Is that the man or the woman?
It's women. Men don't even think about that. Most of them know. They take that as an opportunity that now they can see me, then it means it's an opportunity. I can go all about that.
Yeah, but it's because society tells you if you don't have anything, don't even look at me. So as a man, some will argue. As a man, you know, like you must get some things, then you get some attention. And now you couldn't get it when you were young. You get it when you are old. You know, I'm just saying some people, I think, when we pursue dreams, and I think we also have to think about the wellness of others, right? Because some people are pursuing their goals, but these goals, you know, need to be interrogated because some of them are not healthy. They're not illegal, but they might not be healthy.
True that.
And I suppose in pursuing goals, maybe we can sort of land our conversation here. Somebody says, I hear you. But how do I do it, right? So goal setting. So how do I go about, should I set goals or should I just live my best life? Should I take it as it comes? Or, you know, what are your thoughts around that?
I don't believe in taking it as it comes. Because going with the flow can take you anywhere. So having a direction means setting your goals. So you need to know your short-term goals. What do you want to achieve in the coming days? Let's say in 5 to 14 days, what do you want to achieve? In the coming 3 months, what do you want to achieve? In the coming 5 years, what do you want to achieve? So the importance of short-term goals is just to make sure that you also draw motivation. Because if you only set long-term goals, you might not have the motivation to pursue that goal throughout until that 5 years you complete it. But if you tell yourself that, okay, I just want to start eating healthy, I just want to start managing my savings. This week I want to save, let's say,
I just want money. I want to make it practical. Some people say, I hear this gold stuff.
Yes.
Now I'm here for the money.
Yes. They always say
I'm here for the money. Yeah.
Small money will lead to big money.
Aha, okay.
Yes.
So you start small and you build and you're consistent.
Yes. When you are consistent bit by bit. When I was in high school, they once asked us this question.
Yeah.
And they were like, how do you think it can take you to finish eating an elephant?
Yeah.
All of us, we raised our hands. We're like, maybe 2 years, maybe 5 years, you know. And they said no. The answer is that if you start eating it bit by bit, you'll eventually finish eating the elephant. And that is consistency. If you're doing something bit by bit each and every day, even if it's making money, that small amount of money that you are making and you are growing from that amount, it gives you motivation. If let's say today you have 100 rands, and tomorrow you raise it 20 rands, now it's 120. It gives you a motivation that, okay, it means I can do this. And that will also keep you going. And sometimes I always say motivation will run out. You need to be disciplined enough to remember the end goal of what you want to achieve. Because today you set goals, you're excited, you're like, oh, I want to do this and that, it's exciting. But along the way of life, that motivation just goes away. So you need to know that if motivation runs out, you will have to show up. Be disciplined to show up as much as you can, because in your mind you have the end product of what you want to achieve and where you want to see yourself.
I like that. The metaphor I often think about, right, is let me start it this way. I think there's an Asian proverb or saying. It says something like, last night I dreamt of 1,000 paths, but in the morning I took one. And I think it's the picture of how we have all these ideas, all these dreams, but the reality is time will kind of force you to kind of select and prioritize and focus. And so I do think, with as far as goals are concerned, the metaphor that I use is, it's like you have to have a destination. And then along the destinations you'll have different pathways, right? But if you have a destination, you're not going to go in all the roads. You know where you're going. So I think having, say, a goal, a vision, helps you actually focus. It helps you know what to ignore, know what to focus on, and what you're adding is that, but it must be now specific and add time limits, right? Maybe two more questions. The one is, after people sort of engage with your content, what is the common, I'll sneak in another question there. What's the common feedback or what surprises you about what they say after they read what you wrote?
Okay. Most of them, they always tell me that my book is practical.
Yeah.
They like, when they started reading the first chapter, they were like, no, this one will lead me to have a pen and a paper. It's not something that you can just read and not apply. So I made it to be so practical that when you are reading something, you implement it in your life. So they always tell me that. And some would tell me that, yo, I didn't realize that I'm actually not connected with myself. I need to go back to connect with myself. I need to set my priorities straight. I need to have a direction in life. And I also need to be motivated enough to show up as my best self without feeling bad about it. So those are the common comments that I always
receive. And so, two-pronged question, last question. So the one is, what's the one thing you feel you want to get off your chest? You know, maybe something I didn't ask you. And then what's next?
Okay, I don't think we touched more on mental health. So mental health is a very growing concept. In the hospital, we always see people, the society is struggling a lot. And I think the reason why we are struggling is the stigma that we have around us. It's because we are not educated around the concept of mental health. So the last chapter in my book is an orientation about mental health and how to know when you are struggling in your mind and when to seek help and how to also improve on your mental health. So those are the ways that we can help the society and also to feel comfortable. We want to normalize talking about mental health, especially on men's side. Men don't like talking about the issues that are affecting them.
Generally, health-seeking behavior is poor with men, but you know why?
Why?
Because part of it is, I mean, we value doing well, we want to achieve, we are proud when we set goals and achieve the goals. So consulting almost feels as if you failed.
Oh,
all right, it feels as if you must humble yourself and surrender to a situation. It feels that it's not that way in practice, but a lot of men feel that seeking help is like you are not as useful or you are not as well prepared. I'd rather get lost than stop and ask somebody and ask for directions, because then it looks like they know more than me. If I have to go to a doctor, I'd rather let my partner go and check how she's doing, then I'll use that to kind of assess how I am. And even when they come for therapy, it's more like, now I've messed up my life so much, I have to listen to another person. So those are some of the things we are struggling with. And so we need, I suppose men need to be helped to feel competent. I think that's how men feel good about themselves, knowing that I'm able to do something. And when you are not able to do something, you feel like as if there's no point to your life,
Okay, just to ask around that, is it something that is common around you that you don't talk about things that are affecting you? Because as women, if maybe I know that I'm not feeling okay, I can call my friends, we gather up, we talk about these issues.
Yeah, I mean, with men, that's a very important question. With men, remember, so the things that we value, so I always say, so things have a shadow. Everything has its opposite, right? So what's good about what a man want to do? We want to pursue, we want to conquer, we want to achieve, we want to build, we want to win.
Yes.
It's not bad if you do it in a respectful way where you're not dominating people, but men generally value that, right? And that sometimes as we are pursuing that, we neglect relationships, we neglect our partners, we neglect children, we neglect bonding. And then when we are struggling, we don't have people to talk to. And then when we are with other men, there's still that competitive element. So we don't really, we talk about things, not so much how we feel about certain things, because there's this idea that we don't really care about feelings. If I feel, the situation still stays the same, so I'd rather solve it than talk about it. So there's that idea that the things we are pursuing sometimes make it difficult for us to pursue relationships. So when we struggle, then we struggle to connect. And I do, sometimes I'll go and I'll talk to men. Now I talk to men's events and things like that. Then there's a question, when you talk about men, when you say, please, when you're not okay, talk, like share. One man will raise his hand. I've seen this in different places, and you'll say, but what happens when you reveal your mistakes or what's not right, and your partner later during a fight brings that up? And when they do that, I learn not to tell them. So men, I suppose we are sensitive in that if I do open my heart and I tell you something, don't you dare bring it up and make me feel shameful. So it's things around that make men struggle.
Okay, I guess maybe we should create a safe space for men.
Yes, I suppose a safe space for everyone. I think for me, I think if we can get to a point where men know that asking for help is actually not a bad thing. Just like the best players, best whoever, they've got coaches, they've got mentors. So having somebody to walk a journey with you does not make you weak. Yes. But also these safe spaces, because men will also say, but where can I go? It's a common question. Where can I go? And there are ideas around creating what they call a table of support. So men must create those relationships and those spaces where you can, just be yourself and get assistance.
Because I've noticed that most people that are struggling with mental health, it's men than women. Because with us...
Are you sure you can say that here? Because it's not politically correct. If you say that, yeah, men do struggle. But partly because these men feel a burden. And And the message largely in society is that you're a bad guy. There's something wrong with you. So where do you go? Who do you talk to? So men conclude that I'm alone. And so when you're struggling, we know what gives a good life is relationships.
Yes.
And so when you feel alone, when you believe that I'm alone, you don't invest in relationships, then you're going to have mental health issues.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I mean, the men who read your book, what do they say? They say, yeah, we hear you, but...
They do say that, I will start, like you said, implementing relationships is very important. And some will even go to an extent that I'll find a closer friend wherein we can normalize talking about things that I know that I'm not confident enough to discuss with other people. So I'll just find that close friend wherein I can talk to them about what is bothering me, things that are affecting my mind and all that, of which I think it's going to be a long journey. Yeah. But as long as they are willing to take that initiative step to realize that I'm not okay. I should speak to someone. I think maybe we'll get somewhere.
But I must confess that I mean, in the years that I've been doing, I'm seeing a lot more men. And typically a man comes because his mom, his wife, his girlfriend, some lady in his life said, you need to, so a lot of women actually help men with that. Men, I must also say that men actually talk. It's just that when they talk, many men feel that my talking is not useful. So if I'm talking to you and you're not listening to me, I'm going to resort to keeping quiet. So sometimes we say men don't talk, but we can also say when they do talk, sometimes their talk is not appreciated. And so then the conclusions are, what's the point? It's like, firstborns. Like if I told you and you don't listen, I'm just gonna leave it alone. But mental health is very important. I think, even because when we think mental health, people also just think mental illness. They don't think mental health as in my body can be healthy, but what does a healthy mind look like? When we say mental health, I think people jump to, no, I'm not crazy, or no, I'm not ill. But mental health is, it's a broad thing, a mind that is flourishing, a mind that's floundering, a mind that's sort of struggling. So I think it's a broad concept that we need to address, and I'm happy you put it in your book.
Yes, because the stigma that's going around in the society,
definitely.
I think, that's what is also preventing people from seeking help.
True.
Because now they will think you are crazy, you are like not part of the society, because everyone wants to be accepted in the society. And even the way we treat people that actually have mental illness is also how it's making other people not to be able to see.
Because you can see, like if I say I have a problem, they're going to, okay, Dr. Nthabiseng Tsebe, any final thoughts?
Please buy my book.
Buy the book. Tell them to buy the book.
Please buy the book. You won't regret this, because this book, when I wrote it, I had you in mind. You are that one person that kept me awake at night, and I wanted to change your life. I wanted you to live your best life, show up as your best self, and also don't function on 0 levels of your energy. And also, once when you know who you are, you'll know where you are going. And if you have a destination of where you are going, you will know when you have arrived there. And that will channel you into being someone who's directed in life.
Yes, and what I'll add to your buying your book, people shouldn't ask, where should I get it? We're going to put details here.
Yes, please.
And then they must go on the details and follow through. Okay, great stuff. Summoned by greater and lesser pleasures, a man decides daily between dirt and treasure. The visionless ones only stand to fall, but brave are they that heed the call, fight. Persistently superior, lesser loves whisper, but safe are they that recognize danger. Victorious is the man who learns to master fire, so learn, dear sir, learn to stand for truth in fire.